Hello, BookTube. Oh, we come to it again, that melancholy moment. The last mail haul of the week. It's a fairly good-sized pile here. I thought we'd go through it together, see what kind of trouble we can get into. Starting with this skinny thing. Could be a slim volume of poetry. No. Oh, it's the fall catalog for Pegasus books, who do such good stuff. Oh, the very first thing is Tales of Valhalla. Norse myths and legends. Oh my. Okay, Tales of Valhalla is the very first thing. The second thing is an illustrated Moby Dick. Oh my. Okay. All right. Simmer down now. Can't all be that good, but oh my. All right. Then we have, let's see here, a couple of novels. A doctor's memoir about working on the Arctic frontier. Peter Snow's book on war stories. Oh boy, look at that. John Gaudet with Pharaoh's Treasure, A History of Paper. Oh boy. Let's see here. A graphic novel about H.P. Lovecraft. I know a lot of you really like him. He doesn't do it for me the way he does it for a lot of readers, but still. Wow. Okay. All right. All sorts of novels here that I'm sure I'll pay more attention to when the time comes. I just sort of I don't want to bog us down here. Lots of murder mysteries. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Book on nursing. Landing on the Edge of Eternity. Robert Kershaw's new book on Omaha Beach. More murder mysteries. More murder mysteries. Okay, great. Wow. Okay, here's this. Please tell me this is going to be huge. No, it's not. Okay. There's something by Robert Lyman called Under a Darkening Sky, American Experience in Nazi Germany. But it's only 350 pages long, so I don't know how that's going to work. Another book about Lord Byron's daughter. In Byron's Wake is what it's called. Interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. But it's short. 330 pages, but it's a biography of Sokolov, Stalin's scribe. A biography of Mikhail Sokolov. Why would it be 350 pages long? Why is that? A New History of Rome at 500 pages. Big new history of Napoleon Bonaparte in Rome, the Caesar of Paris. Another one of those Shakespeare novels. This was The Assassin of Verona. Oh my. More murder mysteries. Lots of murder mysteries. Wow, see, here we go. This is by Ian Ballantyne. This is The Deadly Deep, the definitive history of submarine warfare, but it's only 350 pages long. So it can't be definitive. I mean, a history of submarine warfare during World War II would have to be longer than that to be definitive. So that's odd. That's strange. But we'll see. For the Sake of the Game, an anthology of stories inspired by Sherlock Holmes' canon. Wonderful. Oh boy. Edited by Laurie King, who does a whole bunch of really good Sherlock Holmes pastiche mysteries, and Leslie Klinger, who's a great editor. Somebody who you see his name on an anthology and you know it's going to be good. Oh, Jane Glover, Handel in London. Oh boy. Oh my. Oh my. A collection of letters between Winston Churchill and his mother. And then, of course, paperbacks. The Pegasus paperbacks. coming out in the fall, where it'll be all of their stuff from last year, and naturally I will want to know if I am going to be blurbed on any of them. Probably not, but you never know. Because I've reviewed quite a few Pegasus books last year. But yeah, see, like this one's so great a Prince. I wrote a great long review of that, but no blurb that I can see. Ghost Empire in paperback, wrote a long review of that. White Mountain, wrote a long review of that as well. That's all right though. Okay, and then we wrap things up. Okay. All right, great. So that is our first item, the fall catalog for Pegasus Books. I wonder if that means I'm going to start to get fall catalogs. That would be very nice. Now we'll move on to the books proper. What have we got for the books proper? That's good to know. There's a whole autumn of great stuff coming. That's just one publisher. Wonderful. Fantastic. Do we have a cover? No, we don't. Okay, this is Oxford World Classic, or Oxford University Press. Their advanced copies don't have preliminary cover artwork. It's Beyond the Lawrence Legend, the Forgotten Few, who shaped the Arab Revolt. And it's by Philip Walker. During the First World War, Turkey made the unexpected decision to side with Germany and declare war on the Allies, principally Britain, France, and Russia. In response, the British persuaded Sharif Hussein of Mecca to gain independence from Turkey, resulting in the Arab Revolt of 1916 to 1918. The dazzling British soldier T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, became the legend for his role in aiding Hussein. And this is the story of the unsung efforts of forgotten fellow officers and spies, but they're not completely unsung, because this is that book, that exact book with Lawrence in Arabia, that sort of thing, has been written 4 or 5 times in the last 20 years. But it's still a great story. So this comes out in April, which kind of makes me wonder why I'm getting the advance copy now. Maybe the whole thing is running late. Anyway, all right. So we've got Behind the Lawrence Legend. I have a bit of a sweet tooth for Lawrence of Arabia, so I'll gobble that right up. What have we got here? Harvard University Press. The Rise of the Working Class Shareholder, Labor's Last Best Weapon, by David Weber. Comes out early April. God, my April shelf is going to be a nightmare. I have to swap it out sometime this week, and that's it's going to take forever. And the results are going to be very demoralizing. This is going to be like 200 books. This book tells the story of a group of labor activists who have challenged corporations, hedge funds, and private equity funds using enormous power vested in worker pension funds. At a time when traditional 20th century tools like strikes have increasingly failed workers, these activists have figured out how to use the trillions of dollars in worker retirement funds as a working class weapon. Huh. Okay. All right, let's see what's next here. Now I'm thinking about the April shelf. How I wish I could, again, as I always say, how I wish I could snap my fingers and have like half a dozen of you here to swap out that shelf with me. That would be so much fun. Oh, great. Okay, I requested this. Wonderful. This is a short film about disappointment by Joshua Matson. And I liked the cut of its jib. It's an ingenious novel about art and revenge, insisting on your dreams and hitting on your doctor, told in the form of 80 movie reviews. In the near future America, film critic Noah... Here, I should be holding this up so you can take a good look at it. Joshua Matson. Let's see here. In near future America, film critic Noah Bodie uploads his reviews to an underrated content aggregator. His job is dreary routine. Watch, seethe, pan. He dreams of making his own film, free of the hackery of commercial cinema. Faced with writing lousy reviews for a website that no one reads, Noah smuggles into his reviews depictions of his troubled and marginal life. Amidst his movie reviews, we learn that his apartment is in the vintage slum of miniature Aleppo and has been stripped of furniture after his wife ran off with his best friend, who Noah believes has possessed Noah's body. Noah is in the midst of an escalating grudge match with a vending machine tycoon with a penchant for violence, and he's infatuated with a doctor who has diagnosed him with a disease of thought. Exhausted by days spent watching flicks featuring monks with a passion for rock and roll and slashers overrun rampaging hairdressers, Noah is determined to create his own masterpiece, a filmed meditation on art with a capital A, written by, directed by, and starring himself. And this is a debut novel, so I love those anyway. But this comes out in August, but I honestly don't think I'm going to wait. I think I'm probably going to read this sooner than that. A novel told in the form of movie reviews. Irate movie reviews. You gotta love that. Alright, let's move on here. Oh, great. Okay. Is this another debut? You know, I don't remember. This, I think it is. Let's see here. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see. No, okay, it's not. But it struck me anyway. This is an advanced copy of Hannah Pittard's Visible Empire. Look at that cover. Atlanta, 1962. It's the thick of the civil rights movement, and the hippies, with their hedonism, drugs, and parties, have found their way to the city. It's June, it's hot, and there's no air conditioning to be found. More than 100 of Atlanta's most prominent and wealthiest residents have escaped the heat, touring Europe on a luxurious arts tour, and having the time of their lives. But Air France Flight 007, chartered to bring these cultural leaders home, crashes upon takeoff in Paris. In one fell swoop, most of the city's 1% is wiped out. At the time, it was the worst civilian plane crash in history, leaving behind children, spouses, lovers, friends, and a city on the cusp of great change. Based on this true story comes this epic novel. Against a backdrop of grief, the author gives us journeys of those who must rebuild their city and their lives. And that sounds fascinating to me. When does this come out? This is due in early June. And again, I don't think I'm going to wait, even though these things that I'm jumping the gun on are all made up stories. Still, they sound really good. So let's see what we have next here. Oh, great. Okay. All right. Talk about a made up story that sounds great. Wait till you hear this. This is due in June, and this is the new thing from Jim Crace. This is The Melody. Listen to this. Aside from his trusty piano, Alfred Busey lives alone in his villa overlooking the waves of the Mediterranean Sea. Famed in his town for his music and songs, he is mourning the recent death of his wife and quietly living out his days, occasionally performing the classics in small venues, never in the stadiums he could fill when in his prime. On the night before receiving his town's highest honor, Busey is arrested from bed by noises in his courtyard and then stunned by an attacking intruder. His hands and neck are scratched, his face is bitten. Busey can't say what it was he encountered exactly, but he feels his assailant was neither man nor animal. The attack sets off a chain of events that will cast a shadow on his career, imperil his home, and alter the fabric of his town. His own account of what happened is embellished to fan the flames of old rumor of an ancient race of people living in the surrounding forests, and to spark new controversy. Something must finally be done about the town's poor, the feral vagabonds at its edge, whose numbers have been growing. All the while, Busey, weathering a media storm, must come to terms with his wife's death and decide whether to sing one last time. That just seems so great. So simple. Just an attack. But I just can't wait to read it. So, The Melody by Jim Crace. So we're actually doing really well for fiction so far. We've got a couple more to go here. None of them either of the remaining ones are quite big enough to be the kind of nonfiction that really gets Steve going. But I had a whole catalog of that, so I guess I can't complain. What is this? Goodness gracious. Okay. Did not request this. What is this? Okay, this is Well, here, this is Rust and Stardust by T. Greenwood. Kind of a striking cover. In 1948, 11-year-old Florence Sally Horner was abducted by Frank LaSalle, a pedophile who would hold her captive for nearly 2 years. Vladimir Nabokov read a mention of the case in the newspaper and inspired Humbert Humbert and Dolores Lolita Hayes from Lolita. Despite this, Sally's story is little known and all but forgotten. T. Greenwood takes readers on a gut-wrenching journey with her fictional retelling of the Sally Horner case in Rust and Stardust. When Sally steals a notebook from the local Woolworth, she has no way of knowing that 52-year-old Frank LaSalle, fresh out of prison, is watching her, preparing to make his move. Accosting her outside the store, Frank convinces Sally that he's an FBI agent who can have her arrested in a minute, unless she does as he says. Ooh, okay, so that's going to be tricky. I'm not a big fan of Lolita, but it is nevertheless enshrined now as a modern-day classic, and here's this book treading on its territory. That's so this is published in September, and the final line of the publicity sheet is finally Sally will have a voice. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. Okay, so that's another novel, another interesting sounding novel. All right, and then we've got this last one, and we'll wrap this up for the whole week. I've got a pile of books as usual for the week, so let's see what this next one is. Okay, well, it's nonfiction. Great. This comes out in April. This is a finished copy by Michael Gazzaniga, and it is The Consciousness Instinct, Unraveling the Mystery of How the Brain Makes the Mind. And it's full. It's just covered in blurbs. Good Lord. Oh. Okay. It's only covered in blurbs. All right. Well, let's see what we have here. Anything else here? No. Okay. We can do this. How do neurons turn into minds? How does physical stuff, atoms, molecules, chemicals, and cells, create the vivid and various worlds inside our heads? The problem of consciousness has gnawed at us for millennia. In the last century, massive breakthroughs have rewritten the science of the brain, yet the puzzles faced by the ancient Greeks remain. No, they don't. In The Consciousness Instinct, the neuroscience pioneer Michael Gazzaniga weaves together the latest research on the history of human thinking about the mind, giving us a big-picture view of what science has revealed about consciousness. The idea of the brain as a machine, first proposed centuries ago, has led to assumptions about the relationship between mind and brain that dog scientists and philosophers to this day. The author asserts that this model has it backward. Brains make machines, but they cannot be reduced to one. New research suggests the brain is actually a confederation of independent modules working together. Understanding how consciousness could emanate from such an organization will help define the future of brain science and artificial intelligence and close the gap between brain and mind. The only gap between brain and mind is the reluctance of humans to believe that they are biological creatures, period, full stop. That is the only problem of consciousness, is that humans don't want to believe that they are biological creatures, period, full stop. So, mind has become one of the last refuges of soul. That surely there's a mystery here that plumbs to the depths. No, there isn't. There is no mystery to mind that is not biochemical. None. You know how I know that? Because if I scoop out your brain, your body collapses into a heap and never gets back up. And if I scoop out your brain and I slap it around for a while, and then I pick it up gooey in my hands and stuff it back into your cranium, and somehow we were able to reconnect things, it wouldn't be you anymore. It wouldn't be you anywhere close to you. I will have damaged your mind. So, which means your mind is your brain. But he's the leading expert, not me, so we'll see what he has to say. This is all right, so what have we got here? This is The Consciousness Instinct. Then Rust and Stardust, a novel that is a new take on Lolita, on the story that inspired Lolita. Then The Melody by Jim Crace. You can't see it in the spine of this thing, but then Visible Empire aftermath of a horrendous plane crash. Then a short film about disappointment, in which a bitter movie reviewer works more and more details of his gripey life into his movie reviews. Then Labor's Last Weapon. What do you do if you don't have a labor union fighting for you? What are your weapons? Do you have any, and how effective are they? And the last book is Behind the Lawrence Legend, another look at the realities behind the larger-than-life Lawrence of Arabia legend. I could read a book like that every week, and I'd be happy to do it. And the Pegasus Books Fall Catalog, which has so many goodies in it that I'm going to be hard-pressed not to get straight to it. But there you go. That is the last mail haul of the week. Heavy on the made-up stories. But we'll have lots more to talk about. So I'll wrap this one up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.